think that they'd be prepared?
I would hope so.
We would have to get prepared. I
That's
don't think
right.
we are, but I think that we would pull things together and make it happen. But as of now, I would say the answer is no.
Well, there were a lot of layoffs with the Centers for Disease Control. Yeah, there were a lot of layoffs. And now they have to get people going every place, different places around the world and so forth. And you know they've sent the troops in to
I saw that.
I think that's
to
a
Liberia.
I think that's a poor decision.
I do think so too.
But what are you going to end up with? I mean, why risk infecting soldiers with people? They're going to come back here, and there's going to be 500 of them coming back here.
You know, here's the other thing. Back to the first story was the fact that here that nurse is getting married. Who's to say she hadn't had sex with her
Yeah, I mean,
fiance?
it's possible.
That's right.
It's possible.
Because that is the way to transmit it.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. All bodily fluids.
But that's what we don't understand. How did the two nurses actually get it? They're not.
You know, I'm not sure about the infectivity, the rate of infectivity of Ebola, but clearly it's high. I mean, you know, in Africa, you've got a lot of people who are getting it from all different degrees. You got, you know, dead people, dead bodies in the streets, and dead animals and things like that transmit it. But I think that these nurses, I mean, a simple touch to the eye or the nose or the mouth after they thought they were clean, but maybe they weren't as clean as they thought they were, that could have transmitted it. I mean, it's not like every single nurse got it. You got two nurses that had it.
Well, I just pray that the ladies are okay. They say that one of the people who worked there with the patient who passed away, she's on a cruise. So now they're trying to pick her up off the cruise ship. They say they have not diagnosed. Tiffany, you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Because I mean, she's there now. What is it? I don't know.
Well, they're trying to pick her up. They're going to send, I don't know, maybe a helicopter with a basket. I don't know.
So then, are you going to quarantine all the people on the cruise ship to see?
They have her in a room, and I'm sure it's not good quarantine.
All you got to do is anybody who's a healthcare worker, I'm sorry if you made a reservation for a vacation, we'll reimburse you or figure something out to help you reschedule. But if you're working around Ebola people, you should not be traveling internationally. You should not be on flights. There should be strict protocol. And Obama has said he is serious about travel restrictions, but don't talk about it, be about it, because we don't want this to turn into something worse. I mean, obviously we have better health care. Look, if one person gets Ebola, they get quarantined in the United States. In Africa, you got bodies piling in the streets. That's why it's totally different. It's never get to that level like it is there. But, I mean, I think that they need to take more steps in making sure people who are exposed to the virus don't have a chance to expose it to other people.
But the thing is, it's done now, and you know we're gonna sit next to each other and agree to disagree. But you gotta get up off my president. Everybody wants President Obama to solve everything. There's nothing that he can do right. Even the things that he has done right, he gets backlash for. So now he's supposed to cure and solve Ebola and how it's transported and how it's transmitted, and the things how people are quarantined and how they're not. Common sense should tell you if your child is sick, don't send them to school. But people send sick children to school every day. It's common sense. Children spread germs, and people know this. It's not anything that's hidden. It's not a big secret, but yet they do it. If you've been exposed to Ebola, why should President Obama have to come and tell you, don't take a trip? If you've been exposed and now you're around other people, why should President Obama come and have to do a news presentation or, you know, put something in place to say, well, now everyone on this cruise ship needs to be quarantined? We have very highly educated people in place to assist with these things and to make educated decisions. And why is everything always placed on the president for what he does or does not do?
I agree, Attorney Tiffany, because they should hire the Ashford Agency. The Ashford Agency, and you all are laughing, but I'm very serious. The Ashford Agency would develop a communication strategy. We would develop what the narrative would be out here in the marketplace. Again, there's misconstrued messaging across the board. It is not necessarily the president's responsibility, as you said. That's why you have to have communications persons. There should be some backstage meetings with various editorial boards, news entities to describe what this story is going to play out. I don't think that that's happening, and that's why the media is telling the story. And for too many times, we allow that to happen. No one has gone in and had that conversation. No one is describing what the editorials, what the op-eds would look like. If we had that in place, if we had some PSAs, if we had trusted folks in front of the cameras describing and educating, then I think things would simmer down some. And that's currently not happening. As you said, we're just throwing it back in the president's lap. And there are qualified folks that can do this.
I agree with you full-heartedly. And lastly about this, the scammers, well, second to lastly, the scammers are trying to cash in on everything. They have been marketing products including silver, herbal oils, and even snake venom as serums for Ebola, cures and so forth. It's crazy. So don't listen to anybody. Next, Mark Zuckerberg, who is the CEO or founder of Facebook, he donated $25 million to the Centers for Disease Control to fight the disease. And we need some other millionaires to cough up some money too.
I think that's great that he donated that money, but I think he should have learned from his previous mistakes. He donated $100 million to Newark School District, and the money's all gone, and their school district has not improved at all.
I know.
So
That's
maybe he should
thing.
hire his whole team of his type of people that he knows to manage his money and make sure it goes to the right places.
I had a feeling that was going to happen in Newark, but that's a whole different topic.
Yeah.
A whole different topic because he donated all that money.
And they said it all went towards contracts and advisors and stuff like that. The money was all
I
scattered.
could have told him how to do it.
Normally, there's some type of check and balance in place. So I'm very surprised that happened. There's no accountability.
Well,
when you cut that type of check,
yeah, that's a ton of money.
And also, and it's interesting. I saw this story this week, and I said, "Gee, this just happened in my family." Last week, my brother was in town. He was at my mom's house. He had gone over there, and he called me. He said, "Call mother and tell her to get off the phone and stop trying to call the IRS back." And I said, "IRS? Yeah, they're telling her she owes money and everything." And then I read this thing. Fake IRS agents scare many consumers into paying up. And so just at that point, she called me. I told her, get off that phone. Don't try. The IRS just doesn't call you. No. They do not call you. And they've been scamming and scaring people. So this is really a PSA to everybody out there. Scammers are pretending to be from the IRS, and they're taking advantage of real taxpayers. And they're telling some of them, we're going to send you to jail because you owe us money. A lot of times they're trying to get your Social Security number, too. I mean, in Michigan, consumers lost about $119,000 on the impersonation scam, according to the Treasury Department. They try to take advantage of seniors. My mother has never had a phone number that's been listed. How do they get your number?
Hey, the internet is powerful. You can do anything.
If you go to CVS, they have your information. Once you scan that little card, they have everyone's information. You don't necessarily have to be on social media. It doesn't take much to get someone's information, your phone number, your address.
And
it's true.
All these data breaches that they have, Home Depot, Michaels, all these places.
Absolutely.
They might not necessarily got your credit card number, but they got all your information.
Yes.
That's easily accessible. That's not the encrypted information. Encrypted information is your important information, like the credit card number. But I think that the biggest thing that you can get from this story, no legitimate agency and no legitimate transaction will go through Western Union, MoneyGram, anything like that. It just does not work like that.
But she's a senior, and a lot of times seniors say, "Oh, they try to live right," and they try to say, the first thing I would say, they would not be calling me.
And unless you're like Wesley Snipes and haven't paid taxes in 10 years, you're not going to get sent to jail for owing $1,000 to the IRS. So
I know.
They're going after the big fish, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Blake.
Yeah, but
yeah.
enough little fish can turn into a big fish.
Yeah, that's true.
Tiffany, are you ever encountered with anyone who have scammed people?
Yes. Yes, I had one particular situation where a client worked somewhere dealing with the public, and they had interaction with credit cards. So what would happen, or what was alleged to have happened, was that once you give the credit card, they would swipe, but it was like a booth area. So they would swipe, but they were really swiping in first in a scanner that would retrieve all that information and then swipe again. So all you're seeing is swipe, oh, it didn't go through the first time, so they swipe again, but the second swipe was actually charging, and the first swipe was, and you can, the internet is scary, but you can get these machines anywhere, and it would scan and take all of the information. So people are just coming through and swiping, their cards when it was appeared to just be, okay, well, the first swipe, my information didn't read, which sometimes it happens on those machines, and when it really was, the first swipe was actually on a different scanner that was collecting all the information. It happens all the time. Or there have been cases and situations where people get credit card information and say now they get a credit card with Tiffany McEvans on it, and they have my information, and they go and shop on the internet, or they go out to stores and shop and charge everything up, and then later on down the line sometimes you get caught, but the damage is already done. It happens all the time. Or even with gift cards, it was a big scam going around for the last couple years around the Black Friday and Christmas time, with gift cards being activated, and they would sell them. So it gets a lot of with credit cards and things like that, identity theft. It happens all the time. I have one situation where a client of mine had been charged with stealing the identity of several Detroit police officers, and there was a list of names. And what happened was, they alleged that my client took the identity, had these credit cards set up, and went shopping. Did purchase transactions over the internet and things like that. So it happens to even law enforcement agencies. It's not difficult, as they said, to get anybody's information. I could look up on the internet right now. I have sites that you can pay for, but there are free sites that anyone can get on right now, and the right site to go to and the right information, and I could get your address, I could get your phone number, I could do an aerial search of your home if I chose to, for free. So it just depends on knowing the right information. I had a client come to my office and sit down, and we're doing a consultation, and my phone rang, my cell phone rang, and when I looked at my cell phone, it was my number coming across the screen of my phone. And my client did it, and I was just like, how did you do that? And it's amazing to me, the different things that people will take the time and energy to learn that are not productive, when you could be an engineer, you could be an architect, with all the different things that people take time to learn how to do. So I come across it all the time, and it's scary.
Well, you're the one who years ago hit me to this site, we won't say it on here, where I could find out addresses.
Yes.
And my doctor's son was killed by accident downtown, dragged under a bus. And I said, I felt, when I heard about it, I said, I feel so bad for my doctor, And so what I did was go on that site, and I got his home address and everything to send the sympathy card and flowers to, right to the home. He was surprised, but I said, well, I had an ex-husband who told me I could find Jimmy Hoffa. So, you never know. But all our information is out there. It is out there.
Yes. It is.
So you feel kind of vulnerable. So be careful. Don't these scams. So I told my mother, anyone who calls her, have them call me. They won't like the conversation.
I try to live by the rule of thumb. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Everyone has an inner voice, so to speak. And if that inner voice starts to speak to you, something isn't right about it. Just let it go. Just walk away from it.
Right. Now, before we go, we're going to deviate a little bit from the run of show, because there was an interesting issue on the internet. Speaking of the internet, Tamika, why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, there was a video that went viral. There was a student and teacher that got into a fight in Baltimore. And so the video that they show, it appears as if the student may have instigated the situation, and maybe she threw an object twice. And then next thing you know, you go to the scene, and the teacher as the young folks say, went ham on her. And they started fighting. They started fighting out in the hallway by the locker. So it's
And they were trying to hold the teacher
Yeah.
back and everything. As a teacher, I can tell you sometimes there will be that student who
Yeah.
really tests your patience, and you want to you want to go ham.
you could tell that the student was testing the teacher's patience, because when she went up there twice, the teacher actually walked away, and then the young lady went back again, and the teacher walked away again. But I guess once they got outside in the hallway, 3 strikes and you're out.
Like Chris Rock said, he said, "I wouldn't do it, but I understand." Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But at the same time, you're the teacher, you're the adult. This is a child who's. It doesn't matter what they're saying or doing to you. You're going to lose your job no matter what if you. Kind of
Yeah,
this person.
but you're still human.
You're still human. And you know what? When I think of a child, I think of someone who's like 4 and 5 and 6. But when you have a 16 or 17-year-old, they're just as tall as you, big as you. They running off at the mouth, cursing, throwing cell phones. And I'm sure, I could only imagine, Dr. Blake, that this is a particular student. Again, I wasn't there, but it's been escalating. Monday, she probably was saying something. Tuesday, sassing the teacher back and forth. And probably, I'm not sure what's in place with the school, but maybe someone should have intervened earlier. But I think today's students, they're very disrespectful. Not all of them, but very disrespectful. And they will try to challenge the teacher because they know that you can't touch me. I saw a video that went viral where the young man just went up to the teacher and slapped him in the face soon as he walked through the door.
Well, I mean,
You
now
know,
physically, yes, they may look like an adult, but especially if you see this kid every day, you know their mentality,
Yeah,
what the mentality of this kid is. Now, should they maybe have talked to the vice principal or security or something? Of course. I mean, who can predict that this student's going to try and start a fight with you? But at the same time, you have to be, if you're the teacher, you're the one leading by example.
I agree.
Come on. I understand being pushed to the tipping point, but
I'm
come
on
on.
both sides of the fence on this one, Miss Perryman.
I know.
And I know you are too.
I know.
I did watch the tape last night, and it was very interesting. But I guess as the defense attorney in me, I wanted to know what happened before the tape started rolling, and that we don't know. I wanted to know the whole story. So I listened to a couple other interviews, and the young lady's family was interviewed. They spoke to her aunt and someone else in her family, and the other young lady, and I don't know if it was her grandmother or another aunt. She made the statement, you have to send your best student to school. And yes, she's been in trouble, and she's been in trouble a lot, and she's gotten in trouble, but we sent the best young lady to school that we could, which let me know this wasn't a young lady who has had a troubled past in school, and she has caused altercations before. So I wanted to know what happened, because it's great to say, and I taught 8th grade as well, fresh out of college. As soon as I graduated from college, I worked with Miss Perryman for a while, and then I got a teaching job at Thompson Middle School with 8th graders that were bigger than me, that were taller than me, that, we had a dress down day, and the other teachers thought I was a student. I mean, so you say that as the adults, and it is true. As the adults, she should have taken the upper hand, but the security guard at Cass Technical High School didn't anticipate Ja Rule body slamming him. Sometimes, like Ms. Perryman said, you're human. And sometimes that human side reacts. Now, I'm not saying that the teacher's response was correct or incorrect. I just know me. And there's some things that even me, as a professor and as an attorney and as a former teacher, there are just some things that I just know myself. And as Tamika indicated, the teacher walked away a couple times. So it's a lot on the tape that the tape does show, but it's a lot that the tape does not show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You just
And,
never know.
well, a lot of times, and you didn't even know this, that I would do this, because I didn't have really a bunch of problems. You know that. But there were people I anticipated, and I talked to their counselor. I said, I think you need to hold them out this hour. Have them come down to the office and just talk to them a bit. I'd have that student extracted, because that person sometimes ends up controlling or trying to control the entire environment. And because you're a teacher, they know that you're not supposed to hit them back or anything like that. You're not supposed, that she's not going to hit me back, or see, I can do what I want, I could throw things. And there have been some classes that I've seen teachers totally out of control. The kids are totally out of control, and the teacher is like the victim in there. So I don't know what happened either, but I'll tell you this. I know how she feels. I understand.
And I'll close with this. What's the saying? You gonna learn today. So she.
Oh my
She'll
goodness.
think twice about throwing something else.
And we're not laughing because it's a laugh matter, because it's really not funny.
Oh,
but
it's not.
but it's a serious situation, and yes, you cannot send a child to school and say that it's okay for you to hit anyone, another student, especially a teacher, or someone in a staff member like the security guard, and think that it's okay. Why is it okay for a student to assault an adult, but it's not okay for the adult to respond?
Oh,
They don't want to get sued.
right. And they want to keep their job. Adults want to keep their job.
Yeah, but there was one young lady who stood up for another student. There were two students that were fighting. This was a while ago. And she stood up for the one student, and they did. They fired her, but she got her job back eventually, because you do have the right to speak up and stand in the shoes of someone else and protect that other person.
Now, didn't she not take the job?
She
back?
did, which was a good situation for legal purposes.
Yeah.
But she declined the job back, but they did eventually have to give her job back. I can get 5 clients all sent to me with the same charge, and every situation will be different. Every single one. The charge is all the same, but the situation, the circumstances, the facts behind it will be completely different.
Gosh, I mean, I know. I know the feeling. And one day in my career, I made a mistake, and I called a student a name back. And then I said, "Oh Lord, that was a hell of a pizza party I gave her in my class." I said, we got to talk.
Yeah, we
got to talk. I mean, I reported myself. And everything, whatever you all want to do. But it was, golly, and I couldn't believe I did that. And it was just,
You just
it was
couldn't take
in
it
the
anymore.
auditorium. And so I talked to the class about it. They said, "We understand, Ms. Perryman." I said, "But I don't understand. All these years I've taught, I've had more control, this, that, and the other thing." But then she came back, and we talked, and all of this. I talked to her dad. Her dad said, "I want to call her that too sometime." But it wasn't right. And I mean, I do, understand. So only reason I brought up the Joan Rivers story, because she was under propofol, and her death was caused by a lack of oxygen. Do you all use? I mean, tell me about propofol.
Propofol is a general anesthesia. I believe it's known as an induction agent. It would put you to sleep. Okay, but it's the most common general anesthesia. Anybody who undergoes surgery, unless you're allergic to propofol, you're getting propofol. So, I mean, yeah, she died while she was under surgery. Anytime you go under, there's a risk of complications occurring. I don't think that her death was too out of the ordinary, besides, the surgeon taking a selfie with her while she was unconscious. But other than that, I don't.
God, she did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was her friend, and she thought it was going to
But
be
it's
funny to
still
send
not
a
cool.
Joan Rivers, but you're not supposed to do that. But but propofol is that's standard general
Okay, I
anesthesia.
just wanted to know about that. And like they said, the medical examiner said it's a risk.
Yeah. And especially at her age,
And then she was
undergoing
80,
surgery,
yeah.
that can happen.
God, don't give me anything. I'll just take the pain. All right. What about this honor student who brought a pocket knife to school and was suspended for the year? At first, they expelled her from the district, but then they suspended her for a year. What did you all think?
Zero tolerance is the dumbest thing ever. It's the worst set of rules. Every situation is different. How can zero tolerance ever apply to anything? I understand why they have it, but it's got to be reevaluated.
I agree.
Yeah, it's very disheartening when I saw the media interview. Apparently, her grandfather had given her the pocket knife because she had to go through a kind of rough area, Southwest Detroit or whatnot, to get to the school. So what do you say when your life is endangered as you're trying to build a better life for yourself? I mean, it's a really, you know, you hate to see this, and I hate that the board voted, you know, her basically out of the school. But then on the other side, you know, if you open the door for her, then it's going to be other persons to come forward. But I do kind of wish that they would have given her a pass on this one, just because I don't believe it was intentional. It's tough. When then I think too, you got to identify what's the policing of the community that has to be addressed. That's the reason why she had the pocket knife to begin with, because of the neighborhood that she had to travel through to get to the school.
It's simply what Dr. Blake said. You have to change the policy. The policy has to be changed. The school did the best that they could with the circumstances and situation that they were faced with. Because what happens is you give this young lady a pass, and then the next incident comes up, and then what do? Because what I'm going to argue is, if it was good enough for her to get a pass, then my client, whatever the situation was, should get a pass, which is why I think Cass is going to have a very difficult time when it comes to the next student getting in any kind of trouble, because Mr. Campbell should have been expelled from the district the first time.
Right.
And they didn't, because they didn't follow those rules. The administration from the high school with the young lady, they spoke, and I thought they were very compassionate. They didn't want this to happen, but
Because
they
at
have
first
rules
they
in
expelled
place.
her, and then
Right.
they suspended her.
Yeah.
Right.
But here's, maybe I have a real different take on this. Well, I agree they had to do this, but I cannot believe that she did not know that.
I'm gonna
knife
tell you,
was
she
in
didn't
there.
know. I